may be pre-recorded. Good morning, and welcome to Connections Radio Show, where we talk about ideas that matter. I'm glad you've made the connection and are with us today. I'm Lori Fitz, your host, and the goal of our show is to explore a wide range of topics that challenge us to see ourselves, our community, and the world around us that gets us thinking, gets us talking, gets us leaning in, and perhaps inspired or challenged to do just a bit more because we've made the connection. So our topic today is we get to have the opportunity to learn more about Reconnecting Rondo. Our Reconnect Rondo Youth Council has launched the second podcast in their season. You may have remembered we had them when they were launching their first of the season. Voices of Rondo is a podcast that highlights youth voices on the history of systemic racism in Americans' transportation policy. It is important to share that this podcast is youth-driven and it features Twin Cities metro area high school students. In collaboration with the nonprofit Reconnect Rondo, the podcast explores the Rondo neighborhood's past, present, and future through the eyes of its residents, community leaders, and local experts. The first podcast season delved into the history of Rondo, which was once a thriving center of the African-American culture, business, politics, and music. And it discusses how the community has evolved and changed over the years. Our second season, we'll be hearing a little bit more from the folks here about what it's going to be all about. But essentially, it's exploring the present day voices of Rondo. And some of those present day voices are here today. And I want to have everyone have the opportunity to introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about your role. So I'm going to start with Haben.
Good morning. My name is Haben Gebergergish, and I am a facilitator for Reconnect Rondo. I've been in this role since September of 2021, so it's been a couple years. And my main role as a facilitator is to support the interns in the work that they do. My expertise, I was a teacher for almost a decade, and now I'm an instructional coach. And so my passion is research and writing, and so that's mostly what I support the interns with as they produce the podcast is organizing and researching.
Wonderful. And Erica?
Hi, everybody. My name is Erica Lee. I am a recent graduate from Brooklyn Center High School. And so I do quite a few things with the Youth Council. I'm a podcast host, I'm a scriptwriter, researcher. I do work in community outreach, and I work in social media as well.
Moises.
Hey, my name is Moises. I'm also a recent graduate of Brooklyn Center High School. I'm a host, podcast editor, scriptwriter, go out to the community, do a whole bunch of things.
Raphael.
I'm Raphael, or just Rafi, and I just graduated from Central High School, and I also, write the scripts and host the podcast sometimes, and, I'm learning how to edit, actually, behind the scenes, and hopefully going to learn more about how to even work the cameras in the future.
Jahai.
Hi, I'm Jahai from High School Recording Arts, and I do the AV, editing, and also now a host. Yeah, so glad to be here.
And we're glad you're here as well. And Lane.
Hi, I'm Lane Bellamy. I am a facilitator there. I help the students with the podcasts, filming, recording, all that stuff.
Well, thank you to each and every one of you. We've got a full room with lots of good energy and lots of good insight for the afternoon. Actually, we're morning now. Forgive me. It's been a crazy week. We are actually, this is not a pre-record. We are live. I want to start with Erica. Erica, can you share a little bit more about what you accomplished in season 1 with your podcast and your goals for our upcoming season 2?
Yeah, of course. You did a pretty great summary. So the first season, we really focused on the past and history of Rondo, and we did a lot of research concerning the construction and the aftermath of Interstate 94 in Rondo, as well as the construction and aftermath of various highways in historically Black communities across the country, and the patterns of displacement, gentrification, and more. And so now we're moving into the production of our second season, which is very centered on the now current day in Rondo and where the community is at. And we've done a little bit of it in the last season, but now we've been really intentional about featuring voices from the Rondo community on our podcast this season. And so we've done a lot of interviewing with community members, primarily at public events in Rondo, like Juneteenth and Rondo Days, which is an annual festival in Rondo that celebrates the perseverance and culture of Rondo. And we even hosted our own event last month at the High School for Recording Arts. So that event was all about just showcasing clips from our podcast to a younger high school audience. And so those topics that were shown were like discussed gentrification and displacement. And so afterwards, we really wanted to get the youth engaged. So we facilitated discussion to get the students to really digest and critically think about what they heard. And they had a lot of great insights. I mean, I'm wondering what you all thought about the event. Any thoughts?
Yeah, the event was set up by us at the High School for Recording Arts to really engage the youth where they're at. It was a mission of the second season for us to do that. And yeah, it was a success. We really got good insights, and we also did some interviews after the fact with 2 students there. So
Yeah, we wanted to really just hear like any thoughts and reflections or anything that students learned. And so we interviewed 2 seniors from High School for Recording Arts, Malachi and Marquise.
And I believe we'll start with Marquise.
Yes.
All right, let's hear what Marquise had to say.
I feel like how the system is built right now, I feel like it's targeting our people more to
change.
where we, fighting each other instead of working together.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
that's what the system doesn't want. They don't want us to work together. They don't want us to
Right.
really realize what's really going on and really.
we got a lot of power, especially if we was smarter, if we was more educated. We still got time, Feel like we need to start teaching our future kids. Like when we
Mhm.
have kids in the future, we gotta teach them what's right, what's wrong,
Mhm.
what you're gonna see and how to deal with those problems and stuff. Cause it's already too late. We all got trauma, but now it's like, how do we deal with this?
Right. What are you gonna do about it?
Yeah, how we gonna come together about it instead of just dealing with it on our own type stuff.
Erica, was that you that did the interview?
Yes, it was me and Moises. And my apologies, that was actually Malachi that just went up to speak.
Wonderful. You were about to say something, Rafi.
Oh, I was just gonna say that I was here and involved in the planning of this event and initially starting to think about how we were gonna do it and what we wanted to see. And I wasn't able to make it to the actual event itself, but it was a lot to do, and I wasn't sure exactly if it was going to be possible to organize this and to get people engaged and to really have constructive conversations. But I mean, as you heard, people are thinking about this and very willing. Students at HSRA are very willing to actually have conversations about this and get involved, or at least get engaged with this topic. And it, from what I've heard and what I've seen, the event turned out like a great success.
Well, just
Yeah.
hearing that clip, that was very honest,
Yeah.
very vulnerable, right there. And I have to believe part of that was the trust that person had in you, in being
Mhm.
able to open up and share and be willing, and I think that's part of what I so admire about what this group is doing is not only are you sharing your voices, but you're encouraging others to feel confident in sharing theirs.
Yeah, doing these interviews with these students, I just remember feeling really proud because I feel like a lot of people and a lot of older generations assume that younger people, especially Black and Brown youth, like we just don't know what's going on. We don't know things about politics. We don't know things about government. But I think I was just really proud to know that students know a lot more than we think that they do. And so I just, like you said, I felt also proud that they were able to be vulnerable and open up about certain things. But yeah, I really enjoyed it.
We have let's get the other interview. This one is that one.
Marquise.
Okay, that was Malachi, but now we're hearing Marquise.
Yes.
Okay.
This is the youth teaching the youth instead of the originals organization and the OGs teaching the youth.
Right.
More of the
Passing
youth.
their legacy.
Maybe a lot-
Passing the legacy.
I love that it is the real voices.
Mm-hmm.
I love hearing what they're sharing from their perspective, and that you're giving them a platform to be able to have that be shared with others.
Yeah, and I also feel like it's a really important message too. Like he's like, I want to make sure that we're capturing the essence of like what he's saying. Like he's really saying that a lot of youth don't have those elders, or parents or grandparents, or just elders in their life to guide them and to teach them and to sway them into I don't know, reaching their full potential. A lot of times youth only have other youth to guide them, or they don't really have much guidance. I feel like that's a really important thing to be talking about.
Yeah, and the thing I noticed with the interviews is that, or what I saw at least in the two students, is that they really had these thoughts just within them. Not really, they may not be talking about this with their friends. They may not be talking about this with fellow members of their community. But in the interviews, I feel like you could tell that they're finally getting all this out because we finally connected with them where they're at.
Right, you just got to give them a platform to speak.
Exactly.
Lane, in your experience in working with the youth, they mentioned that very often don't have a mentor or an elder for support. Interesting to think of us as elders. I'll go there. What has been your experience in supporting this?
It's just been very gratifying, and very happy that that they are concerned about what's going on in the Rondo community, and I've just been very happy to be a part of it.
And Jahai, you've gone from, and we'll talk about a little bit more about this in the next segment. You've kind of gotten the full meal deal
Yes, yeah.
of seeing background to being up front as a host.
Yeah, it's really, it's like amazing being able to like see from like it's like starting and just like being in the background to like actually now being one of the people up front.
Yeah, it sounds like you like put your toe in the water.
Yeah, we're like,
a little bit more, and then the joy of being front and center.
yeah.
And I want to learn more about that in our next segment. We'll have to go to commercial right now, but preview, we're going to have Jahai share about his experience, and we're going to have Rafi share about a particular artist and activist that made a difference with him as well in terms of getting perspective on Rondo. So stay with us, learn more about Rondo, a place I love and feel endeared by. I lived there for a very short period of time when I was in graduate school, but feel very connected to that neighborhood, and am excited that we're having a chance to share about the beauty and the glory and where it's going today. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Frank Brown of Minuteman Press Uptown with a question for our listeners. How important are business values to you? When you need high-quality digital print, it matters who you work with. You see, Minuteman Uptown is unique. We're one of the only union print shops in Minnesota providing our team with living wages and benefits. We believe in second chances for justice-impacted individuals who want to contribute to the community, and we are active in local issues. We've been in the streets standing up for racial, social, and economic justice. At Minuteman Uptown, our mission is to connect all communities through technology-driven print solutions. An example of that mission is when I moved Minuteman Uptown to North Minneapolis. We're invested in this local community, and we help small businesses and local organizations throughout the Twin Cities reach their audiences. Reach out to Minuteman Uptown and partner with a printer that shares your values. Call us today at 612-870-0777 or visit us at mpuptown.com. That's mpuptown.com.
Whether you rent or own a home, we all likely have nightmare stories about home maintenance, or what I like to call home cringe moments. Join me, your host, Katie Shahan, for the Yarlow Home Cringe Show. See what home cringe-worthy stories we have for you each week as we talk with local home service pros. Learn best practices for winterizing your home or what to look for after a hailstorm. Listen to the Yarlow Home Cringe Show every Sunday at 2 p.m. or on your favorite podcast app.
Hey Twin Cities, the folks with the Twin Cities Pride Amplified show, which you can hear Saturdays at 3 p.m., are inviting you to this year's Pride Festival in historic Loring Park. Twin Cities Pride is proud to offer something for everyone. With over 50 food vendors, Artists Alley, an expanded youth area, Pet Central, and new this year, the Queer Rights Book Fair. Twin Cities Pride's Book Festival debut was so popular last winter that they've decided to bring it to the 2024 festival. LGBTQ plus authors, booksellers, book fans, and bookish goodies, they're bringing it all to Loring Park, complete with a small stage for book and poetry readings. They're aiming to make 2024 the biggest and most inclusive Pride Festival yet. Mark your calendars. That's this Saturday and Sunday. And don't forget about their epic Pride Parade starting this Sunday at 10 a.m. Visit tcpride.org for more information. That's tcpride.org. Twin Cities Pride looks forward to seeing you there this Saturday and Sunday at Loring Park.
Hi, this is Paul Metza. Honored to tell you I've been broadcasting my Wall of Power radio hour show on AM 950 for over 9 years. We have had musicians that have played with Bob Dylan and Prince, local musicians, authors, comedians, CIA agents. My motto is cool people from all walks of life in all 50 states. It airs every Saturday night at 6 p.m. on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Welcome back to the Connection Radio Show. We talked about ideas that matter. I'm Lori Fitz, your host, and today we are continuing to explore reconnecting Rondo and the amazing podcast series of Voices of Rondo. This is a youth-driven podcast, and we have the producers, the hosts, the thought leaders that have brought this all together. And I want to go around and have folks share, again, very more top line, because they're folks that have been with us, but they're folks that haven't been with us and are now joining us. Your name, the role that you have, and just a short thing, if anything surprised you when you were doing this. So we're going to go this time this way. And Lane, I'm going to let you start.
Hi, I'm Lane. I'm a facilitator for the Voices of Rondo, and the thing that surprised me was how well they were put together when I first came in. I came in a little late to the podcast, and I was just really blown away by how put together the young people were.
And that's Lane Bellamy. Thank
Yes.
you. Jahai.
Hi, I'm Jahai Lilly. I'm trying to remember the questions.
Surprise.
The surprise, yes. I think it was becoming a host. I was kind of just like editing, and Rafi and Moises was like, "Hey, Jahai, you want to be the host for season 2?" And I was like, "Okay, yeah, sure, yeah, I'll definitely do that."
Great.
So that
You
was
did
my
awesome.
surprise. Yeah, he did really good.
Ed Rafi.
I would say for me, it's mostly just kind of in general, how much goes into creating a podcast like this and kind of building a presence online and really getting people to engage with what we're talking about. Because, you see the external, clips and videos, and you don't really know, like, there are hours of setup that go into every podcast, and then obviously to editing many, many hours. And, it's just a lot of work. And I think it's very rewarding overall.
Thank you, Rafi Karpowitz.
My name is Moises, host, whatever they want me to do.
Moises Soto Puente.
Yeah. Thing that surprised me is the amount of learning, not only in the Rondo area, but also across the country. The amount of history I've learned.
Erica.
Hi everyone, my name is Erica Lee. One of the main things that I do is host the podcast episodes, and that's probably what surprised me. I feel like I'd think that the more I do it and the more I'm in front of the camera, the more, I guess, less nervous I'd be. But I'm always nervous. It's really just how I learn to deal with that and be more confident and strong with time.
You don't seem nervous.
And Haben.
Hi, my name is Haben, and I am a facilitator for Voices of Rondo podcast. One of the things that I think surprised me the most was just how incredible of a job the interns did creating the research and crafting the narrative. I mean, this whole idea of like racism and in relation to transportation history. I'm a history major. It's such a niche history, and when I first started working with the interns on this podcast, I'm like, what really is there to this? How much research can there actually be? And the interns, they dug so deep to find these connections between different African American communities throughout the country, weaving that with the perspectives and voices of local Rondo residents to create this amazing narrative that told a really clear story and a really clear history. So that, I think, was the most surprising thing for me, is just how well the interns did with crafting the historical narrative from really niche data.
The History Center should be made aware, and the History Center should know, and have this as a feature. The voices of Rondo would be very powerful, because people everywhere should know about this and those connections. So I'm going to go back to Jahai.
Hello.
Tell me about what you're the one that tipped your toe in the water and then started swimming.
Yeah.
But tell me about that process. Tell me about what you first started to do and how you got
Okay.
involved to do that part.
I'd say so. I was staying after school. I'm gonna just go all the way back.
Okay.
I was staying after school, and I saw this group of people in the studio. Just like, I was like, "Whoa, what's going on?" So I was figure out it's this whole podcast. I was like, I want to get on this, because I was doing my own podcasting, and I was like, this seems really cool. And I started to do more and more, like, I'm gonna skip a little ahead because it'll be very lengthy. I started doing
You do a quick edit there, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Jump cut.
I was doing audio engineering for like some of their like podcasts and stuff, doing like just little audio stuff, like taking down the gain and all that. And I slowly switched to doing more like editing and more AV setup, and just seeing like it kind of like gain its form, gain the podcast form. Like, it was kind of like not all over the place. It's not a format, but like it's not so much more like professional now. And just being behind that and seeing that was absolutely amazing. And for a while, I wasn't officially a part of Reconnect Rondo.
He was a contractor.
Pretty much. So I was like, oh, I really want to be on Reconnect Rondo, but what I can do for now is just, come in whenever they're doing editing, help out, and all that good stuff. And yeah, soon enough, Scott just told me, I don't know.
Oh yeah, we can shout out to Scott.
Yeah,
we
shout
had him
out to
last time,
Scott.
Harold.
Yeah, he was like, "Hey, Jahai, you're finally part of Reconnect Rondo," and that was the day that we're doing the event at HSRA. So I was like, okay, and we had to set up all the AV, which is my specialty, and that was amazing. Yeah.
Well, big shout out to Scott Harold, who is the CEO and founder of Rock the Cause Records, and who introduced me to you all. So
We love you, Scott.
Yeah, we love you, Scott.
We love you, Scott. Is absolutely right. And what I hear also is this incredible trust that keeps getting built. There's trust with the community. There's trust amongst you all in terms of engagement and encouragement. And that's such a beautiful thing to see. Rafi, you had brought up when we were talking about it in our pre-show production meeting, how you were very moved by a community artist and leader, an activist in the community. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. First of all, I just want to say we were talking with Jahai behind the scenes, because he had been behind the scenes for most of it, and we were talking about some of the stuff we were going to talk about on the podcast, and we were like having great conversations, and then we basically were like, Jahai, you got to get on the podcast. You like have to host, get in front of the camera, and he jumped in, and it's been awesome.
Yeah,
So
he
he did great.
Thank you.
Episode 1 of season 2 is going to be out soon, and it's great.
And now the Pierre.
Yes.
Tell me
Now
a little
on
bit
to
about
Pierre. So Pierre is a community member in Rondo. We got in touch with him through HSRA, High School for Recording Arts, which is where we have our podcast. And he was great. He came on kind of as a third host for us. And he's born in Rondo, raised here, and he's kind of like an activist and musician in the community, works with community organizations, has been on the local and national news, and his kind of philosophy is to use music and rap and spoken word as kind of a process for internal discovery that in turn can lead to external action and kind of affecting change in the world and in the community.
Well, this is about a 2.5-minute clip. So we're going to listen to the whole clip, and then I'd love to come back and have you share your thoughts on hearing it once again, but this time on our radio show.
Totally.
All right.
And Pierre, you've been a resident of Rondo. You've lived here. I mean, you grew up here. You weren't here when the highway was built, right?
No, I was not born yet.
But you felt the effects. And what is it like to have a highway right kind of in the middle of this neighborhood?
Yeah. When you're a kid, it's like, oh, that's a freeway. Right? That's the freeway.
It's just there.
Right,
It's
just
just
there.
there,
And
yeah.
you grow up and get more information, like, oh, that's a no way. Like, that's a slave way. That's a that's a
freeway.
way. That's not a freeway. That's a way to displace family members. That's a way to destroy a community. That's a way to gentrify. I might want to go slow. Than I used to.
Not
You know, yeah, maybe this interstate thing is not as great as it seems, right? So when you're young, you don't have the information. It's just a part of life. And I think that's one of the biggest impacts that it's had on my generation is that displacement was normalized. This gentrification, this urban renewal, these things are normalized. Oh, this is just life. But for my parents and for my parents' parents and their parents, what we experienced as normalized, very traumatic, because my grandmother experienced a Rondo that was very connected. She came from Money, Mississippi with her family, and they were very integrated in the community. And so when there was this construction of the freeway, there was a deconstruction of integration, and the community is still trying to, when you see that, then you can see why the community is still splintered in a sense and in a way, why things just don't feel like you think they could or they should feel. And because when there's an intentional, and I'm a very spiritual person, when there's an intention to sever a community for your own means, you're severing the spirit of that community. If you never address that, then how can you expect the spirit of the community to heal? And if the spirit of the community hasn't healed, then how will that impact the community members? How will that impact the visitors? How will that impact the newborns? And so what we see today is what we see today because of this way that was made to make travel between the interstate a lot more convenient for a few, but at the expense of many.
Right.
Rafi, thank you for sharing that with us. What I take away from that is the spirit of Rondo and how to regain that spirit that he brings up so beautifully. What moved you about this piece that you wanted to make sure that it was shared today?
Yeah, no, so much. Pierre Fulford, I'll just say that's his last name, Fulford. And he's just obviously very kind of insightful about his own experiences and how that relates to the community's experiences as a whole. And I think for me, one of the most interesting things about what he's talking about in that clip is where we live, our physical environment, the landscape around us is actually, there's history to it. These highways were made because of choices. There's a reason that we have the environment that we live in. And so when you start thinking about that, then you can start thinking about maybe if you want to change that. And so at first he was like, the highway's just there. And I think for a lot of us, for me, when I moved to St. Paul several years ago, it was like that. The highway's kind of just there, and it's easy to get around with the highway. Like, it's nice. But when you think about where you are in your physical environment as a product of choices made in the past, then it becomes, well, what choices can we make now to change the future?
Thank you. Well said. And a perfect way to set up our next segment that Moises will be leading in terms of, that'll be our next segment. This is my lead up, a little bit of a cliffhanger that will go even a little deeper dive about those choices and voices that discuss that as well. So stay with us and stay with Rondo. Stay with Rondo and reconnect Rondo and the voices of Rondo. It makes a difference. We'll be right back.
Celebrate Pride Weekend at On the Rocks. Steps away from Loring Park above the Nicollet Diner and Roxy's Cabaret. Enjoy skyline views, delicious food, great music, games, prizes, and incredible people in their beautiful cocktail lounge or on their 2-story rooftop patio. Whether you're a part of the LGBTQ plus community or an ally, it's the perfect way to celebrate Pride Weekend. Conveniently located at 1333 Nicollet Mall, go to mplsontherox.com for more information.
Did you know Ghostbox Radio with Greg Bakken airs 5 nights a week at 10 p.m.? That's 5 nights of talking about ghosts, ufology, Bigfoot, and so much more. We're talking about the paranormal every Monday through Friday with some of the most trusted names in the field. Join us and step into the unknown with Ghostbox Radio with Greg Bakken, Monday through Friday at 10 p.m. Only if you dare.
Hi, this is Angela Warner for Warner Stellian Appliance. Do you have a dishwasher that doesn't really wash your dishes, so you have to? Or a refrigerator that kind of keeps your milk cold and you've just been waiting for that right time to buy? Well, right now, Warner Stellian has the lowest prices of the season with exclusive savings like free dishwasher installation on brands like Bosch and an instant bonus for each additional appliance you buy for up to $1,000. See what I mean at warnerstellian.com.
Tune in this Saturday morning right here on AM 950 for the Gardening with Joy and Holly radio show from 7 to 8 a.m. We'll be discussing bad bugs in your garden and how to get rid of them and growing great fall garlic. Our guest is homesteader and author Brian Brigmati will be with us and will answer your garden questions. That's all this Saturday morning from 7 to 8 a.m. right here on AM 950. Tell a friend and let's grow together.
Imagine over 7,000 voices from around the globe coming together in harmony in Minneapolis. This summer, Gala Choruses Festival 2024 comes to Minnesota. It's the world's largest LGBTQ plus singing event. From July 10th through 14th, Minneapolis will be transformed into a vibrant city of song. Join 122 choruses from places as far as China, Estonia, Finland, Ukraine, and Taiwan for 5 unforgettable days of wall-to-wall concerts, workshops, and social events at world-class venues like Orchestra Hall, the Minneapolis Convention Center, and Central Lutheran Church. And don't miss Gala's first ever Trans Fusion Cabaret on Friday, July 12th. This show will uplift trans, non-binary, and intersex voices and feature Gala Festival singers performing alongside local singers. Feel the energy in person by purchasing tickets at galacourses.org or stream every performance live and on demand at galacourses.org. Celebrate love, diversity, and the power of music at Gala Choruses Festival 2024, where every voice matters. July 10th through 14th in downtown Minneapolis.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Clouds move in later today with a high of 69, then tonight cloudy with a low of 51. Vinaigrette can add the perfect complement to your next home-cooked meal. Taste test their wide selection of oils and vinegars, and they'll bottle it for you right on the spot. Vinaigrette is located at 50th and Xerxes in South Minneapolis. Check them out at vinaigrettemn.com.
AM 950 KTN up, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Welcome back to Connections Radio Show, where we talk about ideas that matter. I'm Lori Fitz, your host, and we have been talking about reconnecting Rondo. Specifically, we are celebrating the Voices of Rondo. It's a podcast that highlights youth voices on the history of systemic racism in the American transportation policies. It's important to share that this podcast is youth-driven, featuring Twin Cities metro area high school students. And it's in collaboration with the nonprofit Reconnect Rondo, and it explores the neighborhood's past, present, and future through the eyes of its residents, community leaders, and local experts. Thank each of you for coming today. I want to do another round of introductions so that folks that may have just joined us can get to know our voices that we are bringing today. And on this one, I want you to share just a little bit about why you think this is so important. And Haben, I'm going to start with you on this side.
Awesome. So my name is Haben, and I am a facilitator. So I support the interns with the podcast, and particularly around like research and writing. And I think for me, the reason this work is really important as we think about the connection between the past and the future, and making sure history does not repeat itself. I think it's so important to um, engage what I call the term I like as stakeholders. So stakeholders are people that can affect an issue, but are and also are affected by an issue. And when we think about what's happened in the past, and a lot of times what happens in society today, people that are affected by policies are often the least likely to be engaged in conversations about it. And I think that's what this podcast has done, is the way we've interviewed local Rondo residents. And I think about the May 15th event, which really engaged high schoolers and youth as stakeholders, as people that are affected by policy and are going to be affected by the decisions that are being made today. That's really what this podcast is all about, is engaging diverse stakeholders who have a stake in this issue and deserve to have a voice.
An invitation to recognize the importance of them being stakeholders.
Absolutely.
And being able to acknowledge and own and make a difference.
Yes. Thank you.
Erica.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Erica Lee. I'm a podcast host, scriptwriter, researcher, community outreacher, and social media influencer. And I feel as though the Youth Council, our vision, our mission, what we do, I think that's important, because uncovering the history and patterns of systemic racism within U.S. transportation policy is important, because knowing about a problem and teaching it to others is really the first step to solving it and creating a more equitable reality.
Yo, my name is Moises Soto Puente. I'm a host, editor, researcher, scriptwriter. What's really important about this project is that it's youth-led, youth-driven. I feel like more projects across the country that advocate for issues should follow that.
Rafi.
I'm Rafi. And I think I got involved with Reconnect Rondo mostly, or at least in part, because I've been so involved with Walker West, which is right on Selby Avenue in Rondo, and it is a jazz academy, not just jazz, a lot of music, but I play mostly jazz there. And so my teachers, many of whom live in Rondo or from Rondo, have talked about this history, and so I've been exposed to it pretty much since I moved to St. Paul. And so I've learned about kind of the importance of understanding this history, and like people have said, kind of remembering it so that we can make a better future. And I also think that creating something in the community, like art, like music at Walker West, or like this podcast here where we're talking to community members and talking to each other, is, a really great thing just for the community in general, as kind of a way to engage people and to hear perspectives, and just as a part of the fabric of any community that people are engaged with.
Jai.
Guten Tag, everyone. I'm Jahai Lilly, and what's most important to me, I'd say it's really just there's two sides to this. Having all the youth that's in this room learn alongside, and learning all these valuable skills like editing and all that, all the background stuff. And then also showing all the youth that's not like really tapped in that we can do this, and that we can show our voices. Like, I don't know how many times I've been on the radio and heard like a youth-led podcast on the radio talking about these things.
And knowing you can make a difference.
Yeah, just knowing that you have that ability and have that capability to be able to do those things.
Lane.
Good morning. I'm Lane Bellamy II, facilitator for Voices of the Rondo and High School for Recording Arts. This is important to me because my family is from Rondo. My uncle has a theater in Rondo, and so I'm just very happy about it.
Part of the fabric.
Yeah.
And shout out to the Bellamy family for all the work that you've done to have some of the best African-American art in the country be on your stages. Penumbra. And with that, I want to go back to you, Moises. And Moises, tell us how we can best listen to the podcast.
So our podcast is available on YouTube and Spotify in full on Reconnect Rondo Youth Council. And if you don't like the long format, we also have an Instagram that has short form content. a minute or less, and that goes by the same name, Reconnect Rondo Youth Council. Yeah.
And
where you
then
find us.
there's just the main Reconnect Rondo is the reconnectrondo.com. And then for the youth to listen to this podcast.
Yeah, that's where all our content's at.
Okay,
Reconnect
good.
Rondo Youth Council.
Wonderful. So tell me more about the highways.
Yeah, so these highways, man. So yeah, if anyone doesn't know, the highways were built with passing of the National Interstate Act of 1956. They were built through all communities, and we talked about that in the first podcast. But in one of our episodes, we talk about MnDOT's plan. They came out with a plan in the summer of 2023 that had 8 to 10 proposals, and I believe we'll play a clip that discusses one of those proposals. But they range from doing nothing, adding bus lanes, reducing the highway, expanding the highway, and like raising I-94 to a ground level.
And this is all for like the stretch of I-94 between Minneapolis and St. Paul.
Yes, it's a 7.5 mile stretch between downtown Minneapolis and downtown St. Paul. This got a lot of heat.
There was a disappointment, wasn't there, in all of that?
Right. Yeah, a little bit. Just a little bit.
And that disappointment was?
Well, the fact that they included the expansion proposal, why even have that consideration on there?
And they didn't have.
Oh yeah, they did not have the land bridge, but that was expected since it doesn't really affect the highway.
Okay.
So we didn't expect it to be on there.
Okay.
But we were disappointed that they did have the expansion proposal, which does not serve the community. And Rafi talks about how expanding highways does not work. A concept called induced demand, where if you increase something, the demand will follow it. So there's pretty much infinite demand.
Right.
So yeah, I could explain it, but I feel like it'll take a little too much.
We'll tell you, why don't we go to the clip and then we can go back and Rafi can also share some more about why is this important to be looking at in terms of, are we creating a perpetual expansion? But let's start with listening to the clips that we brought.
And presently, unfortunately, a new expansion plan is happening.
Right.
Costing $10 billion.
With a B.
With a B.
The B. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a wow.
Used
$10
for
billion.
$10 billion.
That's more money than there are people on this planet.
Yeah.
That is
Well, yeah.
insane.
And this money is going to be put to good use. Expanding roads, frontage roads, carpool lanes, such and such.
Good use.
Good use.
Wait, hold on. Like actual good use?
No.
Okay. I couldn't tell for a second. I couldn't tell for a second.
Yeah.
I was like,
we're getting a little sarcastic in this episode. Now, an organization called Stop TxDOT is actively fighting against this. And there's a video they put out, or someone else put out, but they put it on the website. And we're going to show that to you. So this video is silent. While this video is playing, I will read you the statistics. If this video is correct, the expansion will demolish 158 homes, 433 units of apartments, 340 businesses, 5 churches, and 2 schools. This is happening right now, guys.
What I think is interesting is you started off with the history in the first season. Did you have any awareness that you're going to be facing the same issue going on right now in terms of, hurting Rondo again?
Well, just to give context, that was about Houston.
Okay.
In Independence Heights neighborhood that had a highway go through it in a similar time. But now they're having the highway expanded again, once again. So what I was laying out there were pretty much the effects of that. And the reason why we brought that up is like, okay, this is still happening.
Yeah.
It happened in the past, it's happening now. Let's not have it happen in Rondo again with the expansion proposal that MnDOT put out, right? So that's the point that I was getting at.
Very important one.
But yeah.
And thank you for correcting.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Yeah. Oh no, I was like, hold up.
Time out. We're not going to let this happen.
Yeah.
But what a great awareness.
No, yeah.
To be able to go,
This is
just say
happening
no.
now.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is right now. This isn't just a decision that impacted the past.
Yeah, exactly.
It is an ongoing issue. Did we have one more clip that we wanted to listen to on this one, or did that take the whole clip? Just want to make sure that I've got. We have one more. We do have one more. Okay, let's listen to that other clip.
And similar to what they're, doing here, the Florida Department of Transportation came out with a report in 2010 on alternatives for the highway. What to do. One was a no-build option. One was a tunnel, make it to a tunnel. At level,
right, which is similar to the boulevard option, which we've discussed.
Which right now it's
in St. Paul.
Yeah, right now in Overtown it's like bridges over the ground. They just went with raising it more and adding lanes to it, which doesn't do anything for the people. It just does it to lower traffic, which again we discussed.
Yeah, doesn't work.
It ain't working. Such despair.
Yeah,
honestly,
it's bizarre. I mean, this is just pouring money into something that is really not going to help out the people who it's affecting.
And this one explores more here the issues. Nope, tell me more.
So this is another city that we talked about, Miami, specifically the Overtown neighborhood, which also had a highway go through it. And honestly, in my opinion, probably the most destructive physically. It was pretty much a 4-way interchange between 3 highways. And it pretty much wiped out the Overtown neighborhood. It's still there, but half the residents are in poverty and only half of the businesses remain. And we also brought that up to tie it into Rondo because the Florida Department of Transportation also had their own report of their highways in 2010, which pretty much had the same options as MnDOT put out, but they went with the expansion option. So that's why we're like, hey, let's be careful here. This is why we're going to need community voices to really push for the community interests in whatever MnDOT's planning to do with the highway.
And Rafa, you had something you wanted to share about that too.
Yeah. Well, I think we mentioned this, and I think it's important to no, this is about the perpetuation of something that doesn't work. This is about what Moises talked about, induced demand in a small scale. These highways are just simply going to perpetuate traffic. I mean, there's a point at which you can reach capacity, but it's not realistic at this point. And you keep expanding highways, and more people then start using them within a couple of years. There are many studies to demonstrate this. And so it's about that kind of perpetuation of no solutions, and in fact more harm to the communities. And it's also, and this comes back to the MnDOT plan that we talked about a little bit ago. It's about the perpetuation of kind of not listening to the community and not hearing the voices of those who will be affected. And so the plan, I think one of the most striking issues is that it doesn't really take into consideration what a lot of the people who are affected by the highway want.
And I'm not sure we're even going to have a 4th segment because I've let it go over but I have been told that I need to make sure I go to commercial so that they have some commercial time. And whatever minutes that we have left, and it might be just one, we'll come back for our 4th segment.
Okay.
Stay with us.
End-of-life decisions are not easy to make. Hi, I'm Mary T. of Mary T. Hospice Care. It's important to make sure that this difficult time is meaningful and comforting to you and your loved ones. Our hospice team provides an individualized program of physical, emotional, spiritual, and practical care so your loved one is comfortable and not in pain. At Mary T. Hospice, we understand that choosing the right hospice care provider can be overwhelming, but we're here to assist you. Learn more today at marytinc.com.
Hi, it's Penny from Nightingale, your go-to spot for unforgettable gatherings, whether casual or special. Picture this, the warm glow of our cozy atmosphere, the laughter of friends, and the joy of sharing delicious food. From our Nightingale burger to the irresistible chocolate pot de creme, there's something for everyone. Plus, Chef Carrie is always cooking up something special for those memorable moments. Craft cocktails, curated drinks, and diverse menu options make Nightingale the go-to for any celebration. Learn more at nightingalempls.com.
Great news! Twin Cities Pride has partnered with Metro Transit to provide a free ride pass for each day of the 2024 Pride Festival. When heading to the Twin Cities Pride Festival on Saturday, June 29th and Sunday, June 30th, the Metro Transit system features numerous bus stops around Loring Park. Use the Metro Transit Trip Planner to determine the best route for you and find free ride passes by visiting tcpride.org/festival and scrolling to the transportation and parking menu.
Hi, my name is Katty from Minnesota Recovery Connection.
And I'm Erin with Minnesota Recovery Connection.
We'd like you to listen to our show, Redefining Recovery, a Recovery Revolution. It is on Saturdays at 10 a.m. on AM 950.
On the show, we discuss topics about addiction, understanding substance use disorder, the many pathways to recovery, and finding your personal journey.
Listen to Redefining Recovery Saturdays at 10 a.m. and find our podcast on your favorite app.
No matter if you're eating out or cooking something at home, eatlocalminnesota.com has you covered with a list of locally owned restaurants and food purveyors. Locally owned Vinaigrette has been offering the finest olive oil and vinegar since 2009. Reintroduce yourself to all the many flavors by tasting before you buy. From darker white balsamic to cold-pressed extra virgin olive oil from all over the world, there is something for everyone. Vinaigrette, located at 50th and Xerxes in Minneapolis, or at vinaigrettemn.com. The Park Tavern is your go-to destination for fun. Enjoy the fantastic food like their pizzas, burgers, and sandwiches, the best bowling in Minnesota, their wildly popular outdoor patio, great drink specials, all the big games on their numerous screens, and it's the perfect place for your next private event, even large gatherings for over 200. The Park Tavern is your go-to destination for everyone. Have fun at the Park Tavern, Louisiana Avenue, north of Highway 7 in St. Louis Park.
Welcome back to Connections Radio Show, where we have been talking about reconnecting Rondo and the Reconnect Rondo Youth Council launching their second podcast season. We only have a minute and a half, so I want to make sure you get the information of how to listen to this podcast. I'm going to throw it to Erica.
Yes, if you all are interested in tuning into the Voices of Rondo Youth Council podcast, you can, and our related content, you can check us out on Instagram, YouTube, and Spotify at Reconnect Rondo Youth Council.
And if you came in the middle of this and went, I want to listen to the whole show, you can go to am950radio.com, scroll down to connections and hit that. And we will have this full podcast from the show available for you guys to listen from beginning to end and be able to tell your friends and share that with them as well. Any great last comments from folks for people to be thinking about what you want to have them take away from this amazing program that you've been creating and offering to our community?
Stay curious.
Stay curious.
Always be open to be informed.
Rafi?
Let's do this. Let's build the land bridge.
I hope we stay more connected.
Lane?
I don't have anything.
Lane is our stabilizer.
Hamid, everything?
Hamid.
Just listen to perspectives that are different from your own. Learn.
And for our audience, if you have not had a chance to learn about all the amazing things that these young people have done, we have the first podcast that we'll be highlighting as well. And we'll mention that in the podcast that will be featured on AM 950 Radio. We will have both the first one that they did with us and the second one available for you to listen and get the full context of what the work that they're doing. And my hope for everyone in the audience is that you recognize the strength of the youth voices and you recognize the perspective. They are our future. They are our leaders. It is time for their voices and their direction and their hopes and their dreams to be fully realized and heard and supported. And I heard earlier in this podcast that don't always have elders that help guide. Be an elder, be a support, listen to their vision and have it make a difference, especially in these times when we're having so many challenges in the world that we live in. Let's give it to the youth. Let's let them be heard. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Peter Solak.
And I'm Adam Ostrowski.
We are here at Woodland Stoves